Welcome back, YouTube, to another video for Alex's Flying Club. Right now I'm in the flight simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2004, also known as Flight Simulator 9, and I'm flying the default DC-3 aircraft made by the Douglas Corporation. And during the past week I've been kind of interested in the civilian aspect of aviation. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I mostly fly military situations. But I've been watching several videos on YouTube, and kind of interested in to get back into Microsoft Flight Simulator for a little bit. In particular, I've kind of just been discovering the world of virtual airlines. And for being interested in flight simulators as I have been, this is something that's new to me, and I'm surprised I haven't seen more of it before. But I've been exploring things like VATSIM, and I haven't actually installed it, but I'm kind of interested in the concept, and I've looked at several websites for virtual airlines. And one of them that particularly struck my fancy was the DC-3 Airways airline, and they fly almost exclusively the DC-3, and it's a plane that I like, and I've watched a video by a guy that is in the airline that he put up on YouTube, and I'll include links to both the DC-3 Airways and this video. And I just wanted to fly this airplane, and now I'm doing the startup procedure. I check the flaps and the gear, turning on the master battery switch, turning on the generators. I'm sorry you can't see the checklist that I'm using. For some reason, when Fraps records, it includes the GPS panel, but not the checklist panel. So if you see my cursor at the bottom right of the screen, just kind of hovering and going left to right, that's actually where the checklist is, and I'm kind of reading off the items and doing the startup here. Checking the fuel level on the different tanks. I've got more than enough fuel for this flight. I should mention that we're flying from Bangor Airport in Maine to Boston Logan International Airport. Here I've put propeller pitch to maximum, crack the throttle open a little bit, and check the cowl flaps are fully open. Check the controls. Even though I'm moving the rudder pedals there, I actually didn't notice that I had auto rudder on for the first half of the flight, and I couldn't tell why I was getting no rudder response. But even though I had the setting on hard for realism, it still had auto rudder selected as default, so I had to turn that off in the middle of the flight. This was a flight that took me a little bit over an hour, but I'm not going to show the full flight. I've edited parts out, but it's still a pretty lengthy video. It's not the most graphically amazing Microsoft Flight Simulator video you'll see on YouTube. I have a scenery pack that I'm using, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but it's not graphically amazing. For the most part, I just wanted to try to do what I've seen people doing on YouTube. And just kind of get a start into this aspect of the flight simulator hobby. So well, let me finish the startup procedure here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I'm starting up the right engine first, giving it primer. And there it goes. So the process for starting the left engine will be the same. I'll have to turn the fuel boost pump on for the left engine. input. And here you see I have a problem with magneto switches, and it's kind of difficult to get them on the right setting. And I actually had to edit part of the video out because I was frustrated when I was testing the left and right on each engine. But I finally figured out a way to work around that. So now we've started the left engine in the same way. Turn on the fuel boost for the time being. And I'm by no means an expert in this aircraft. I'm just starting out, just following the checklists as they are in the flight simulator, kind of skipping over some steps about checking like hydraulic fluid, because I don't even know what levels, sorry, hydraulic pressure or fluid. I'm not sure what it is over there, but I'm not sure at what levels it's supposed to be. I'm not the most technically savvy in terms of aircraft, but I'm just kind of doing it as I see fit. And I'm sure the more videos I make, the better I'll get, and the more understanding I'll have about an aircraft such as this. So you saw a scene cut a few seconds ago, and I just pretty much skipped over when I was fiddling around with the magneto controls. And you see I've finally found the shortcut keys to turn them both from one setting to another, because the mouse doesn't work so well. And we should get rolling pretty shortly here. So I put the cowl flaps just now to half open for takeoff. Doing a few last minute checks and adjustments. Releasing the parking brake. And we should be ready to go. Full throttle for takeoff. Gear up. I didn't use flaps on this takeoff because I thought the runway was long enough. And I'm climbing out currently at about 118 miles per hour indicated. I should be climbing at about 105, the checklist says. I've throttled down and put down the RPMs to a normal level to not overstress the engine. And this will be a pretty simple flight path. We're just going to make one turn actually during the flight to get on track to Boston. And this is using the scenery that actually came with my rudder pedals, my CH rudder pedals. It had a free gift, which was the First Class Simulations Discover pack. It has two components, Discover USA and Discover Europe. and each one comes with its own aircraft as well. Now this is Discover USA, obviously. We're flying from Maine to Boston, and as you can see right now we're in Maine, and it's mostly forest, appropriately enough. And right now I've got control of the aircraft, and I'm turning roughly on the heading that I need according to my GPS, which has my flight plan. But soon I'll turn it over to the autopilot function of this aircraft. And I don't know if it's a true autopilot. I think they might have called it something else, but it pretty much you don't really plug in an altitude like you would with a modern airliner. You plug in pitch level of the aircraft and the heading that you want. So it's pretty convenient actually if you have a joystick like mine, which is designed mostly for combat sims, and it's kind of cheap. It's not the best joystick, so it kind of gets tiresome to, you know, apply fine adjustments to the aircraft with such a joystick. I'd much rather have a yoke for these kinds of planes, but you can use the autopilot function and just kind of give yourself a little bit of a break. So my cruising altitude for this flight is going to be 4,000 feet. I'm going to climb out there and go level with the autopilot. Now I'm setting the heading in the autopilot panel, just the heading I'm on currently. Leaving the pitch default, and if you click it on, it will take over the controls of the plane, and you can take a little break. Now, if you go on YouTube and you look at videos that people post that play Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you're a combat simulator pilot like myself, it may seem kind of odd. I think the two are kind of have a different aesthetic. At least in my experience, the people that play Aces High don't often play, or don't often talk about at least, games such as this. But I think the two are equally interesting. I'm more inclined towards the combat side, the dogfight maneuvers and tactical maneuvers and things like that. I think it's exciting and gets the adrenaline flowing. But this is a different kind of hobby, I think, with the civilian aircraft. Here it's more about the realism, the immersive experience, and really feeling like you're an actual pilot flying these routes. And these virtual airline pilots, that's what they do. They just pretty much run actual routes and fly from airport to airport. And I think there's still a lot of interest in a hobby such as this, because you learn about the aircraft, you have an intimate knowledge of the aircraft. There's always new scenery that you can get, new packages coming out, especially for Flight Simulator 10. Even though Flight Simulator 9 also has new things coming out for it. But yeah, there's new airports that people download, and new aircraft as well. So there's a lot to this hobby, even though I think it's not as interactive. Although I don't know, I think it's just different. So this Discover USA package that I have, I think it has about 68 flights, and this is the first one. And they go all around the United States, and I'll just continue to do them in consecutive order. I don't know how far I'll get. I don't know if I'll actually post a video of each one. Um, I'll probably end up switching planes for some of the flights, even though I really like the DC-3. I definitely want to try at some point the Beechcraft 18 aircraft that comes with the package. I've tried it before. It's a little harder to fly. It's to get used to, at least. The roll rate is pretty crazy on it. It's pretty fast. So it's a little more involved. So that's why I wanted to take the DC-3, which is one of my favorite aircraft for this first flight. So we're at 4,000 feet here and coming up upon this bay here. I believe it's a bay. Should have probably checked out a map to explain this flight a little better. But you can see that the climb rate is 0 right now. We're staying level at 4,000. And we're going to be coming up on a turn in a few minutes. So I think I'll leave the narration off here for now and just let you kind of enjoy the flight. And I think if you play combat flight simulators and you like the idea of full realism and controlling all the controls in a cockpit and learning more in depth about these airplanes, then you should definitely check out Microsoft Flight Simulator if you haven't already. Because games like Aces High don't really give you that intimate knowledge of an aircraft, like some of the combat flight like some of the civilian flight simulators do. So enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll continue the narration closer to landing time. See you. I'm back. I just wanted to say a quick note about that voice communication. This is a new aspect that I've discovered by watching other videos on YouTube. You can communicate to the towers and radio traffic control through pressing the tilde key, and come up with a bunch of options. And you saw that I was kind of just messing around there with the airport, I think below me. I was, I think, requesting it to follow my flight plan. I'm not really sure what flight following means, to tell you the truth, but yeah. So we all have to start somewhere. I'm still learning. I'm sure I'll get the hang of it. And as you see, when we'll come in to land, I also request landing at the airport, and they directed me to a runway that I didn't land on. I landed on a different one, and they got mad at me. So yeah, that's one aspect of the game that I have to admit I'm least familiar with, is radio communication, and also flight paths and proper procedures for landing, approaches, and things like that, which combat flight simulators really don't teach you because it's not emphasized. So I guess that's two aspects that I have to work on. So back to the video. So now we're coming in on the final approach here, and you saw me lower the flaps, lower the gear, although I was getting a kind of an ominous message saying that it's in the process of being lowered, even though the light is green. So I'll have to look into that. I think there's might have been a latch that I have to secure or something on the DC-3. Anyways, a lot to learn, but I'm coming in here and there are these lights next to the runway, which I really don't know quite what they mean, but I think it has something to do with my descent rate. Just watching other videos, I think the ideal situation is to have 2 yellow lights and 2 red lights. If you have all yellows, like I have now, I think I might be a little too high, coming in a little too high. So, yeah, I'll know that for next time, but I'm not sure, and I have to read up on that as well. So, this is definitely something new for me, but it's an enjoyable aspect of flight simulation that I don't get to try a lot. And, yeah, maybe I can find out more about it. So this is Logan International Airport in Boston. I was trying a flight similar to this yesterday, and I realized I didn't have enough runway for the DC-3, and I just ran off the runway and into a lake. It was at a different airport, but now I know to be really careful with this DC-3, because I don't know what it is, if it's the brakes just don't work terribly well or what, but it takes a long time for it to stop.
Douglas 644, you are not cleared to land. Clear the runway.
So the air traffic controller is mad at me and will eventually break off communication, but that's okay.
Douglas 644, you are not cleared to land. Clear the runway.
So I have to unlock the tail wheel to be able to taxi off the runway.
Douglas 644, ATC services terminated.
I enjoy flying the DC-3, I think, over modern jets, and I think this kind of part of the appeal of DC-3 Airways in particular, from what I've been reading on their website, is it kind of harkens back to a golden age of aviation where, you know, there was more pilot control, there wasn't the GPS, and you kind of have to fly by map, kind of have to fly by your own skill rather than a lot of autopilot use. So maybe I'll work toward that, because I have used GPS and autopilot for this particular flight. But it's an interesting aircraft. It's got interesting systems on it, and I'm curious to learn more about how it works. So I'm just going to stop here in this random location, turn my engines off, go through the post-landing procedure, lower the flaps, get the propeller pitch down, open the cowl flaps, check the carburetor heat, which I have to find out more about when and how to use that. Turn off the boost pumps, kill unnecessary electrical equipment. lock the tail wheel, found the parking brake, and cut off the mixture, lean it out all the way to cut the engines. Turn off the magneto switches. Turn off the master switches. And we're pretty much done. And I just turned off the generators as a final step. Do a quick exterior view of the aircraft. I like to mostly fly in the cockpit view to kind of have a pilot's eye perspective. And here's the exterior of the aircraft. I hope you enjoyed this flight. I noticed that there aren't a lot of kind of long journey-like videos of the DC-3 on YouTube from Microsoft Flight Simulator, so hopefully this is something that maybe proves of value to you, and something that I can continue to do in the future if you'd like. I'll probably shorten the videos and cut off the starting procedure for videos like this, but thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon. See ya.